It is the 18th of July, which means that it is my fake birthday. What? I have a fake birthday. And actually, I think a lot of people do. It's because before I was 18, I was making accounts for different things like websites and such, and Mojang accounts probably for Minecraft too, come to think of it. And you basically had to be like 18 or older for like any of that stuff. So what I did is I just put in a fake birthday as July 18th, 1990. So today I'm 31, at least according to like multiple different websites and like all of corporate America. Because I'll get like all like the discounts and stuff, the birthday discounts for things like Panera Bread will like send me something. It's like, hey, have a free cookie. It's July 18th. And I'm like, oh, sick. It's my birthday. And then, on my Google Calendar, it says July 18th. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, dude. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it's kind of just stuck around. Even on my Snapchat, it says that too. So that's kind of how it's done it. But for my fake birthday, I chose to celebrate by doing what I like to do, which is talk about things that I care about and find interesting. In this case, it's a video script that I made called Nothing Will Make You Happy. I originally made this for my birthday, which is in May, and I made a whole like video. I edited it and stuff, and then just sometimes like the end product doesn't quite come out the way that you want it to, and so it didn't really stick around for me. So instead I decided today I would just read the script out loud because I like the script. I think it's good, just the video wasn't all that great. So that's what I'm going to do. But I should say, this video script, I came up with the idea because a coworker of mine at the store I work at basically told me like one day, this was probably in, earlier this year, said like, oh, Caden, how are you so happy all the time? And I understand why somebody would like think that and like say that to me because I do have a pretty positive attitude and right, like my normal content face is usually a smile and like I'm like in a good mood, right? But it's just ridiculous to say that people are happy all the time, of course, because nobody is. In fact, the way that I break it down, I think that like 80% of the time we're content. And then the other 20% of the time, in between that, there's 10% of the time that you're actually happy and like actually in a good mood. And then the other 10% of the time, you're absolutely miserable or just not feeling good. And that's like a normal state to be in. It's like mostly content pretty much all the time. I'm getting this like 80-20 Malcolm Gladwell rule, right? 80% you're just content, fine with life. Things can get better, things can get worse. 10% of the time, happy, joyous. You're like, wow, things are great. I'm having a good time playing video games with friends. Mark, I see you. We were doing that a couple nights ago, bro. And I was happy then. It was a good time. Or like when I made ice cream with a friend of mine, Zach, a couple nights ago. It was wonderful. I was happy. The other 10% of the time is when you're actually just miserable. And like, that was me like this morning, actually. I got no sleep last night. I had to get up early for work. Literally got out of bed. And I just thought to myself, this thing that just hits you like this train of thought where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do anything, and everything from something as simple as like what pants I'm going to wear in the morning just feels like the biggest burden, like Everest, that you're going to have to summit. And it sucks. And it's like 5 minutes after you wake up, and it's the worst feeling ever, and you're just exhausted. So that was me. That was that 10% misery part. So this is about happiness based off of that incident at work. I'm going to start reading the script now. Let's talk about happiness, and let's talk about me. Why am I so happy? One of the main reasons for this is no doubt that I don't have many stresses. I'm lucky because I come from a comfortable economic situation, a stable household, and unlike many other people my age, I am without student loan debt. Is that because I worked my butt off and got a full-ride scholarship? No, absolutely not. I cared little about my grades in high school, and I thought that the SAT was a complete joke, which is probably why I did so poorly on it. It was all luck of the draw. My family has money, and I reap the benefits from it purely by complete luck. Part of why I'm happy also has to do with just the way that I think about happiness. And there's two ideas about happiness that have contributed to my positive outlook in recent years. When asked about what makes us happy, we tend to give mediocre answers. My dog, my family, my job, my wife, cookies. These answers are all fine, but they're actually all kind of wrong. First off, when does anything make you happy all the time? The answer is hopefully nothing. I love my dog, and you could say that he makes me happy, but he certainly angers me sometimes. Like when he barks incessantly at my arrival home after a long day at work. In that moment, my dog makes me unhappy. Same thing goes for any of your loved ones. Your friends, family, and romantic partners are bound to make you unhappy. And yes, even cookies. Cookies make you happy for a moment when you eat them, but then it makes you unhappy once you consider the unhealthy choice you made. Anything that you create happiness from will make you unhappy. And that's okay. If something is making you happy all the time, it's probably unhealthy emotionally and or physically, and it will inevitably lead to a great deal of despair. But you might consider this all obvious. Yes, of course the things that make me happy also make me unhappy sometimes. So how can you call all of my answers wrong? That's because nothing makes us happy. To say that something makes us happy is to imply that we get happiness from it, but you don't get happiness from your dog, or your mother, or your favorite video game, like it's some happiness reservoir. Because happiness is not something that you get. Happiness is something that you create, and the creation of happiness is a choice. Where am I? Oh my gosh, this is what happens when I do things live. To understand this, let's return to the dog example. Fantastic. As much as I love my dog, Cooper has never been actively invested in making me happy. Because it's a dog, it doesn't even know what that is. Everything that makes me happy about my dog is something that I have chosen to make me happy. I create happiness from taking Cooper on walks because I know he's getting exercise. I create happiness from seeing him get groomed because I think he looks adorable after a fresh cut. When you look at it this way, happiness is a projection. So that's what happiness is, but how do you create it? Well, there's a million different answers. Some say you can create happiness from solving problems, from accepting all of life's experiences, from being grateful. My parents did say that to me all the time. From finding a friend in Jesus, or from living in a free market paradise. All of these can work if you want to create happiness with varying levels of success, but in my experience, most of happiness comes from appreciation. And you have the power to appreciate anything. Here's my experience with one of life's greatest joys, music. There are some songs where I listened to them the first time and went, wow, that's garbage. We've all been there. But then I listened to it again, and I started to appreciate the unique sound of it. I look at the lyrics and I appreciate the songwriting. I'll dive into the song's history and I appreciate what the artist was trying to do. And I notice that when I start to appreciate the music on a deeper level, listening to it brings me a greater deal of joy. This logic also goes for your loved ones. They don't make you happy. You create happiness from appreciating their disposition. Appreciation for how someone's mind works and how they see the world, physical appearance, the way they speak Spanish, their interest in medieval torture devices and serial killers. Now, I do understand that it seems wrong to say that your loved ones don't make you happy. Because yes, there are people in your life that are actively invested in your happiness. But I challenge you to look at it this way. Have you ever tried making someone happy and it doesn't work? There's a good chance that it's not a failure on your part. You know why? It's because if they are not investing in creating happiness, they won't be happy. Because creating happiness is a choice. When your boyfriend bought you flowers and it made you feel amazing, that's because you chose to appreciate his effort. And when you start to see it that way, saying that people don't make you happy and that instead you are the one choosing to take their qualities and their actions to create your own happiness, that's far more beautiful. However, you will not always be able to create happiness from people and things, which is fine. You don't have to appreciate everything in life, because most country music is just crap, and a lot of mythology doesn't do it for me. Personal examples, of course. And one other thing to add, you can still appreciate things that you don't entirely like. Earlier this summer, I went to a town called Williams. It's a tiny town on the Route 66 that's only a few miles from the Grand Canyon that thrives off of 50s nostalgia. I genuinely like Williams, and I appreciated the town's spirit and all the vintage cars, railroad tracks, and 50s themed diners. But what I didn't like as much was the town's gun culture. Which isn't to say that I don't like guns. They're very fun to shoot, and they're pretty cool. I just find most of gun culture obnoxious. It's like enjoying a TV show but having mixed feelings about the extreme parts of the fan base. While I was in Williams, I read metal signs that said, "My alarm tells me you're in my house. My gun tells me not for long." How tough is that? Or, "Two things protect this property, the good Lord and a firearm." I know the signs are meant to be tough and cool, but I think they're lame. Seeing that makes me wonder how insecure some people are about their masculinity. So I obviously wasn't a fan of all the gun hooting, but I appreciated that the gun culture added some character to the town of Williams. It wouldn't be quite the same without it. And I also appreciated that the town's fierce love of firearms because, at least for me, the thing about it is that I found it kind of funny and pretty fun to laugh at. So choose what you want, who you want, and where you want to appreciate life. From that, happiness will follow without much effort. And that's the end of that script. I think I kind of nailed it with that one. So, yeah, I was happy with it. Like I said, the video didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I got to do a live reading of it here on my fake birthday instead, so life kind of works out like that. So yeah, thank you. If any of you watch this, I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you. Especially you, Dylan. You're awesome. Alright, see you guys later.